Philadelphia Eagles are once again Super Bowl champions, and I got so many things wrong about how they would do it, but some right too, and let's talk about that. So, I had a prediction video, a preview and prediction episode that came out just last night, and I'm recording this pretty much right as the game is ending, so I don't even know who the Super Bowl MVP is. I'll keep an eye on my notifications. But the Chiefs, just lost to the Eagles 22-40 to 40. Philly ended up boat racing them. And I said in the preview video, if Philadelphia got out to an early lead and kept it, that was their best chance to win. And that's what they did. They were up early, quickly. I thought it would be a 10-0 lead, not like a 24-0 lead at halftime. Nonetheless, they never let Kansas City get back in the game. Their defense was elite this game. And it reminded me so much of the Chiefs Super Bowl against the Buccaneers. It was at 2020, I believe, and Tom Brady's last Super Bowl victory. In that they really just couldn't get Patrick Mahomes enough time to throw the ball, and his stats don't look atrocious. I mean, 21 to 32 for 257 yards and three touchdowns, but he had two interceptions, he had a fumble, and really a lot of that production came in garbage time. One touchdown to DeAndre Hopkins, one touchdown to Xavier Worthy. That was a deep ball. He was under duress for pretty much the whole game. And the Eagles secondary was good enough to let that pass rush get home a lot. Um, I don't have the defensive stats in front of me, but I'm sure I could get them. Let me see. Yeah, so they ended up with 6 sacks, 6 tackles for loss, 4 pass defense, 11 quarterback hits. Um, at the end of the day, they just made Patrick Mahomes' job difficult. And if you can get rush on Patrick Mahomes, that gives you a chance to win the game. I in that same prediction preview episode said that Saquon Barkley was going to need to have 150 and two if they wanted to win this game. Boy, was that wrong. I mean, I know a lot of people with sports platforms, not that this is a major platform, but will never acknowledge their when they're wrong or when they made a mistake. That was wrong. I'm sorry. Saquon Barkley was bad all game. The Chiefs took him out of the game. He had 25 carries for 57 yards, no touchdowns, and then he also had 40 yards through the air. So, 97 yards in total, no touchdowns, but 2.3 yards a carry is nothing for the average running back. Nevertheless, a running back the caliber of Saquon Barkley. Um, at the end of the day, what this came down to is Jalen Hurts had a really, really good game. And he's a quarterback that I think is good to very good. I'd say he's probably around the 10th best quarterback in the NFL without actually, going through the list. He's not Mahomes, he's not Josh Allen, he's not Joe Burrow, he's not Lamar Jackson, he's not Justin Herbert, he's not Matthew Stafford, he's not in that tier. But when you look at the next tier down, Baker Mayfield, is he close to Baker Mayfield? Maybe. Is he close to, is Brock Purdy in that category? Maybe. That kind of level of player. Jared Goff, maybe. I don't know. He's right in there. And I think the difference between him and a guy like Purdy, for example, is that his ceiling is so much higher, and he could have a good game that looks stupendous. And he did. I think he had a near perfect game. 17 to 22 for 221 yards, two touchdowns. He did have one interception, but he also ran for 72 and he had a tush push touchdown. He was very good and made some really good throws. Pretty much one mistake that I can remember on the sideline down to AJ Brown, where it was just behind Brown. But at the end of the day, he had an elite game. AJ Brown is very good. Ended up with 43 yards and a touchdown. Honestly, felt like he had a bigger impact than that. Devontae Smith, 4 receptions for 69 yards and a touchdown. That bomb, and that's when everyone I think knew it was over. It felt like it was over when the Chiefs didn't convert that fourth down when they Mahomes threw outside to DeAndre Hopkins, and the Eagles got the pass defense around midfield. But then for the Eagles to come out and just put a knife in the Chiefs' throat with the deep bomb to Devontae Smith, perfectly thrown. Smith catches the touchdown. You knew it was done then. Um, but I think the story of this game, even though Jalen Hurts was elite, and I think he's going to end up getting the Super Bowl MVP because more often than not it goes to the quarterback. The story of the game is the defense, man. Like I said, the pass rush got home, but the impact players were elite in this game. Cooper DeJean had the pick six that was just an elite play. Really read the eyes of Mahomes, got to the ball, and to be able to run it back and score, I think really, captured momentum early for them, even though they kind of already had it, but really secured it. And then Zach Bond, who ended up with 7 tackles, he had a pass defense and a quarterback hit. but he also had that interception. And if you watch that play closely, or even somewhat closely, Mahomes was hit by his own offensive lineman because the pass rush was getting home. And so that caused the throw to be off. And Zach Bond made an incredibly athletic play. This was not a case of he was reading his eyes all the way and knew where the ball was going perfectly. No, this was a case of he kind of saw it was coming this direction and then reacted to the misaimed throw because Mahomes got hit in the back on his back left side. And I think that play really set the tone because they got the stop. I should say set the tone. Really kind of emphasized that the Eagles were going to have a real shot to run away with this because they got the Eagles were stopped on that drive. That was the second drive out of the halftime, I believe. So the Chiefs get the first drive, get stopped, which if you're the Chiefs, you kind of need points there. They force the stop on the Eagles around midfield. They get the ball back and then just immediately turn it over. And the Eagles convert that into points. And that was the story of the game. The Chiefs made mistakes and the Eagles really didn't, outside of the one Jalen Hurts touchdown, which really didn't break them. The Eagles played mistake free. I think while it would have been cool to see a three-peat in witness history, I think this was also a cool moment for several guys on the Eagles. Saquon Barkley, who spent years toiling on the New York Giants, being able to, get a Super Bowl victory, although he didn't play a huge role, but still. Um, Several pieces on the Eagles defense making big plays. Zach Bond, I think, is one of the best free agent signings in a long time in terms of a 1 year prove it deal. He was elite all season. I didn't even mention the fumble recovery that they had, the strip sack to really seal the game. Um, but really, I think Howie Roseman is a guy who needs to be highlighted here. Although I looked at the Philadelphia Eagles last year and thought they were a team that really needed a lot of help. They made impact changes in this past offseason that really benefited them down the stretch. Uh, we saw the draft that ended up getting them Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, and Quinyon Mitchell was very good in this game in coverage. Cooper DeJean, he did have that one play blowing the deep ball to Xavier Worthy, but by that point, the Eagles pretty much had secured victory. And obviously, the pick six was a huge play. Zach Bond, like I mentioned, free agent acquisition in the offseason. Saquon Barkley, although he didn't have a huge role, that free agent acquisition really got them here with his elite rushing ability every single game pretty much this season. I don't remember him having a bad game. I remember him having a few games, but never. This was probably his worst game as an Eagle, and it didn't matter. Big, big props to Mr. GM Howie Roseman of the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm kind of waiting to see when this, Super Bowl MVP is going to come through. I wouldn't be shocked if it ends up being a guy like Zach Bond or Cooper DeJean, but I think it's going to end up being Jalen Hurts, and what a performance for him. For the Chiefs, I would expect them to be right back in it next year, assuming nothing changes, right? Andy Reid doesn't retire, no one major gets moved. If Kelsey and Mahomes and Chris Jones and uh, Andy Reid are back, and then you have the development of Xavier Worthy, who I should mention in a second, and Rashid Rice hopefully coming back. I think they'll be right back in this. Um, Xavier Worthy, I think his usage was kind of confusing to me as a third party. I thought that Xavier Worthy was going to be involved early, kind of set the tone with some speed off the edge. He's the fastest man on the planet, practically, and they really didn't get him the ball until the third quarter. It didn't make a lot of sense to me. I thought that was going to be something they inserted from the start and used right away. And instead, he really didn't get involved late, and he was very good late. He had a deep ball catch on, as I mentioned, on Cooper DeJean. He had a touchdown deep ball, which of course was in garbage time, but nonetheless, he had some good separation. And I think using him early would have been a benefit to you, especially when the run game really couldn't get going. I mean, let me pull up their stats real quick. Patrick Mahomes had 25 yards himself, but Kareem Hunt had 3 carries for 9 yards. Samaje Perine had 1 carry for 8 yards, and Isaiah Pacheco had 3 carries for 7 yards. And six of that came on 1 carry, by the way. Um, it just felt like the Chiefs never tried to run the ball. And I get that, Pacheco has been hurt, and since he's come back from that injury, he hasn't looked great. Perine is what he is. He's a third down back that isn't going to get used much. But Kareem Hunt, I think, is what he is. He's a decent player, but not a great running back. I get that that's the case. But at the end of the day, you have to establish the run in some sort, right? Saquon Barkley was very bad. No, I shouldn't say very bad. He wasn't good in this game. Uh, he still had 25 carries because it sets the tone for your offense. And I think not getting, if you don't want to run those guys, sure, get the ball in the hands of Travis Kelce, get the ball in the hands of Xavier Worthy, DeAndre Hopkins. I don't care, whoever it is, Juju Smith-Schuster, someone, Hollywood Brown. It doesn't matter. But I just felt like they could have made more of an effort to get the run game going, especially early on in the game. I think they played scared, and unfortunately, that kind of bit them in the butt. Some other things I got right. Yellow Gatorade, by the way, cashed. You're welcome. If you bet that. I hope you didn't, based on my prediction, because I have no idea what I'm talking about. Kendrick Lamar's halftime, not bad, pretty good. I give it like a B plus. Nothing elite, I think, but he's a very good performer, an incredible rapper. And the disses on Drake just kept coming. I don't know if anyone watching this was reacting the same way I was, but when I was watching and I saw Serena Williams dancing, I was like, "Oh, is that Serena? Oh, oh." Um, and then obviously SZA is in a relationship with Drake. Um, he showed out. There was some symbolic stuff in there with the divided American flag. I think was pretty interesting. But shout out to Kendrick. I think he put it on. I think in terms of hip hop performances, like I think it's difficult for a rap artist to really headline the halftime show just because of the nature of it. Um, and I think he did an incredible job for that. Uh, there's very few. I can't think of any really that have headlined and been kind of the primary performer. I know SZA showed, as a secondary act, but um, I think that at the end of the day, having Kendrick as the primary vocalist, you know, puts you at a little bit of a disadvantage. I shouldn't say Kendrick, but a rapper in general. And so I think he did really well. I'm checking my phone to see if I'm going to get the notification on who is the Super Bowl MVP. But yeah, I'm going to assume it's Jalen Hurts. I would be shocked if it's not. But the Super Bowl's over. It's the off season now. It's baseball season. Yay! It's not yet, but it's gonna be soon. So hopefully my Yankees can make a run because my Jets, continue to disappoint, and the Nets are far far away. Let me know what you think of the Super Bowl in the comments below. What did you think of the Eagles' performance? Um, what did you think of the offseason moves? Did they really pay off as much as I'm making it seem like they did? What did you think of the Chiefs' performance? What's the future of Patrick Mahomes, et cetera, et cetera? Yeah, Jalen Hurts was named Super Bowl MVP. Yeah, that's what I thought. I almost wish you could give it to like an entire defensive line or something like that, just because I think they were the top-notch performer. But nonetheless, regardless, let me know what you think in the comments below. I appreciate the support. As always, like, subscribe, follow us on socials at Lots of Thoughts Sports. Peace out.